Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Zach, and this is Hudson Public Library's Preschool Storytime. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am glad to have you here. All right, so to start out, just like I like to do every week, I'm going to give you a few books on this week's theme or what it's about, and I will give you these as my top picks for the theme. All right. So these are my picks for the theme for this week, and this week's theme is spring. So I know if you are anything like me, you are going to be really excited that spring is finally here. I'm counting it. I think it's close enough. All right. So first up, I've got a board book, and this one is Hopper Hunts for Spring by Marcus Pfister. And so this is just an adorably cute story where there is a little bunny, and the bunny's mother said that spring is coming. And so the bunny decides that, oh, I need to go out and meet spring. And so it's just a really cute story about how the bunny wants to go meet spring, thinking that it's a person. And so just an adorably cute story, really great. So all right, next up we've got Spring is Here, and this one is by Will Hillenbrand. All right, and so if you know bears, they hibernate or sleep all through the winter. And so this one is about Mole who figures out, oh, it's springtime, so I'm gonna go wake up my friend Bear, and it's what they go through to do that. And Bear is just snoring and snoring through all of this, and Mole is having a hard time getting Bear awake and getting ready, and it is just a great fun book. All right, next time we've got And Then It's Spring by Julie Fogliano, and it's illustrated by Aaron E. Steed, or Stead. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one. And this is a really cute book. Basically, it's winter, and like a lot of Iowans, this boy decides he's just had enough of winter, so he's going to start working on his garden. So I think a really fun story there. He basically looks out and sees the brown at the end of winter and decides, oh, I'd like for this to change. And then it becomes a beautiful, slightly different shade of brown. And then it keeps going from there. It's just a really cute story. All right, so this next one I have is a little bit unusual, but it's a really cool book. So this one, if you just talk about it just on the face value, it's a really good picture book, but it's also a really interesting one to talk about what it means, and I will get into that in just a minute. So this one is When Spring Comes to the DMZ, and that is referring to the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone, between North and South Korea. All right, so that is by Ukbae Lee, and this is a really interesting story. So if you don't happen to know the story of this, this is the area between these two countries where nobody really goes, and because nobody goes there anymore, it's actually become a place where a lot of nature, a lot of animals and plants really do really well. They thrive, and that's a word that means that they're doing really well. They're doing really great in there. And the illustrations are just absolutely beautiful. So if you talk about this on a simple way, I think this is a good one to read out loud to kids. For just the simple, oh, look how pretty the nature one is. But if you also want to talk through some of these concepts that are in this too, the book itself doesn't dive too heavily into them, mostly about how they don't get to meet the people. They're in Korea or South Korea, and they are talking about how some families don't get to see each other if they happen to be on the north or in the south. And so that's a really fun thing to talk about too. So just a very cool book. We got this one last year, and I think it's honestly one of the coolest picture books that we have. But one that would be really fun to talk about. And then if you happen to be Korean, I think this one is just a fantastic pick because just great. So highly recommend that one. I know I keep talking this, but all right. And then last up, I've got just an adorable picture book. Who doesn't love cute pictures of animals? So I've got When Spring Comes, and that is by Kevin Henkes, and it's illustrated by Laura Dronzik. All right, so this one is just an adorable picture book. It's got really cool pastel colors. The illustrations are just really bold and fun. It talks about how before spring, what things look like, and after spring, what happens. It talks about the weather. It talks about the things that are growing. It is just a real treat to read. It's really fun, really simple vocabulary. I would definitely recommend it. It's really great. All right, so those are my picks for that. So thank you, everyone, if you joined me for the picks for the preschool preview. Now we're going to get on to the main part of the show. So I always introduce myself again, just in case people skip that part. So my name is Zach. I'm Mr. Zach here at Hudson Public Library, and this is Preschool Storytime. All right, so I think we're going to do a little finger play. So get your hands ready, and you're going to follow along with me. All right, so this one is called Birds. And so whenever I think of spring, I always think about different birds that show up, like robins, I know are the one everybody thinks of, but there's a lot of new birds that we see. I'm sure that some of the people in town along with me have been noticing all of the geese and the ducks we've been seeing. I've been seeing a lot more hawks, a lot of red-tailed hawks around here, and I'm still seeing at least one of the eagles I saw right before recording this. So, all right, so I'm going to go through this a couple times, and you can follow along with me. So, once I saw a little bird come hop, hop, hop. So do that along with me. And I cried, little bird, will you stop, stop, stop? I was going to the window to say, how do you do? But he shook his little bird tail and away he flew. So you can flap your arms like that. All right, so let's go through that one again. And for the look outside the window, you can pretend to look out the window. I always think it's fun because this one says, how do you do, to pretend you're tipping a hat. But however you want to do this, if you want to do different actions, that's fine too. So once I saw a little bird come hop, hop, hop. And I cried, little bird, will you stop, stop, stop? I was going to the window to say, how do you do? But he shook his little tail and away he flew. All right, let's do it one more time. Once I saw a little bird come hop, hop, hop. And I cried, little bird, won't you stop, stop, stop? I was going to the window to say, how do you do? But he shook his little tail and away he flew. All right, I think we got that one. Did you like that? I did, yeah. All right, so now we've got a craft that we are going to work on. So I'm gonna grab my stuff here. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna need to adjust my computer here. Yeah, I know that messes it up a little bit. There we go. All right, we're working with paint this time again. So you always need to know when you're working with paint that you might get messy, and that's okay. Just make sure that you're wearing clothes that it doesn't matter if they get messy. I am not following that own rule for myself, but that's okay. All right, so what do you need to get started? So, all right, we are going to be making a painting of one of my favorite signs of spring and summer, and that is a dandelion. So I know a lot of people aren't big fans of dandelions, but I think they are such fun flowers. You can eat pretty much the whole part of it. Make sure you don't just go eat some random dandelions out of some people's yards, because if they spray, that's actually not safe. But dandelion greens are actually one of my favorite foods to have in a salad. And I think they're actually very pretty flowers. And I think a lot of kids know of the fun of blowing the little seeds. So we are going to paint a picture of them. All right, so what do you need? So get a piece of paper. Now I've got some black construction paper because I think it's going to look really cool. But if you just have white paper, that should work just fine too. All right, and then I've got something to put my paint on, and then you're going to need some paint. All right, so what colors are dandelions? Okay, so you might be thinking it depends on what kind of dandelion I'm talking about. Is it flowering or does it have the seeds? So that's a really good question. So either way, you're going to need some green. And then if you want to make one, I'm going to show you how to do both actually. So the first one, if you want it to look like a flower, you're going to need a yellow. And I actually didn't have yellow paint, but I did have buttermilk, and I think that's going to work. Will be a little bit different, but I think you'll be able to tell. All right, and then if you're making it with seeds, you're going to need a little bit of brown, and then you're going to need some white. All right, so for painting this, you're going to need a paintbrush, and I'm just using a standard paintbrush. I actually have a couple of them here, but if you have little hands, like a lot of the little ones watching this, they do make paintbrushes for littler hands. They've got bigger handles and they're a lot easier to grab. If you can't find those, or you don't have those, that is okay. You can always ask for some help from the big people. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to start with green because I think we're going to start with the stem. Ooh, I need to shake this. If you have paint, it's a good idea to shake it before just squeezing it out. There we go. That's better. So you could also use watercolors for this if you happen to have them. All right, so dip your paintbrush in, and then we're going to make the stems. So I'm going to do a couple. All right, great. So I made two stems right there, basically just a line. Now you can make them straight, but I think if you make them a little bit curved, it actually makes them look a little more real. Now, if you want to, you can also make some leaves. So if you know what dandelion leaves look like, they look kind of jagged. So like do, 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 do. But I think I'm just gonna, for now, stick with the stems. Maybe I'll draw another leaf later. All right, so then I think this is the fun part, making the flower. Gotta shake my paint up and then squeeze that out onto my plate in a different area. So remember, if you have yellow, that's what's gonna work best here. Actually, I might have some yellow food coloring. Let's see if I've got that. That might make this a little bit better. I do. Let's mix that in and make this a little more yellow. Nothing wrong with improvising. All right, and so you're going to need a fork to apply this one. There we go. That's a much better yellow color. Let's do one more drop of that. You won't need much if you happen to be doing the same weird thing I am of using buttermilk and then making it more yellow. I think mixing your own colors is really fun. Let's do a little more. Boop, boop, boop. This will be a beautiful yellow color. There we go. That is dandelion yellow, a very light yellow color. All right, so then you're going to take your fork and dip it into your paint like this on the flat part. And then what you're going to do then is start pressing it onto right above where your stem ends, and then going around in a circle, and then you can drag it a little bit too. So I'll show you what I mean. So once you press it a few times, then you're going to work it out like this. So put it in the middle and then drag it out to the edges until you get what looks like a nice fluffy dandelion. And there you go. I think that looks pretty good. So right there, we have got our first dandelion. So if you're doing it in that style, that's how you make a dandelion flower. Look at that. We are artists right here. All right, so next up, we're going to make the kind with seeds. So I need just a tiny bit of brown. You're not going to need much at all. And if you don't have any brown, this is probably the best part to skip. There we go. So this one, the color of the color is melted chocolate. The name of the color, that's what I was going for. All right, so I'm going to take my other paintbrush here so I don't get green on it. And then you're going to make this part right above the other stem brown. So make, if you know what an oval is, it's sort of like that. There. See, make a little brown thing. If you don't want to use another paintbrush, another way you can do this is use your finger, dip it in the paint, and then put it right on top of there. Your finger shape will actually be a pretty good job at doing that. All right, so now we need the white. And to get the white put on, what you're going to need is a Q-tip. Now, if you don't have a Q-tip, you could use your brush and do the same type of thing, but I think a Q-tip is going to be really fun for getting this on. All right, so I'm going to get my white there onto my plate. So what you're going to do is take your Q-tip, stick it in the white paint, make sure you get enough on there, and then I'm going to help my brown paint dry a little bit. A little bit faster there. All right, so then you're gonna start making little dots all around the brown. So while the brown is still wet, I'm not gonna touch it directly onto there, but all around the brown, you're gonna start boop, 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 making dots. So you can see how this is coming together. Starting to look like a dandelion. So I don't know if you've ever done this, but I think it's a lot of fun to take a dandelion, take a big breath, and blow all the seeds out. Now I know your neighbors might not be too happy about you getting dandelions in other places, but I think it's fun. And like I said, I actually really like dandelions. Dip it back in your paint every once in a while. And you're going to make those into kind of a circle shape. All right, and there we go. So there you have it. You've got your two dandelions. So right here, you've got your flower, and right here, you've got your one that went to seed. So this is just a simple springtime slash summertime craft. I know that the going to seed's a little more summer and even fall, but look at that. I think that looks really nice. It is beautiful, worthy of being hung up on a refrigerator. All right, so thank you everyone so much for joining me today. Happy spring. And this has been Hudson Public Library's preschool story time. Thank you very much. Bye.